Hello guys, and welcome back. And in today's video we're taking another look at the mirrors just to keep you guys updated with what's going on in regards to the lovely monster skills, because my last video on the mirrors was quite a bit ago and we have some changes here and there. So let's figure out if any of these guys are worth using nowadays, or if it's just once again pretty much just fusion slash astro guide fodder here. So I do have the fire one pulled up, and the fire one is a defender type coming in with 26k HP, nearly 3.2k attack, and then 2.2k defense. Weird stat distribution for it to be a nat 4, because that defense is pretty much like nat 3 level, though the attack is acceptable. HP is fine too, but very interesting. I mean, it is an attacker, but still. But let's take a look at the skills, because that's really pretty much what matters in the end. Doesn't matter how good Astromon's stats are, if their skills are garbage, congratulations, I'm not using you. So in regards to the 3-star skill, this Astromon comes in with 30% Stalker, and in regards to its 5-star skill, which is HP Siphon, attacks greatly restore its own HP in proportion to the amount of damage this bad boy or girl, because I don't know, basically does to the enemies here. And it also indicates that this is an AoE type Astromon, so it's very important because you don't want to be scammed, especially by your boy Elio over there recommending freaking Dark Mira without realizing that Dark Mira is single target in terms of, I believe it's his attack up, but we won't talk about that. Also has a Grace of Life leader skill here. Not super useful, but I guess if you want to use Mira for whatever reason, I mean, not Mira, but Mira, that is basically your prerogative, but that leader skill is nothing spicy whatsoever here. But let's take a look at the skill books, if I can click on it and not click on the actual skill in itself. So Stalker receives a 10% damage boost and goes up to 50%, which means you only need 50% crit rate to get that benefit of Stalker, at least in terms of the 3-star skill. But then you also have HP Siphon, which receives a 20% damage boost, but if you only have 50% crit rate and you do HP Siphon and you don't crit, you're just missing out on free damage. So these don't really synergize well. Like, it's honestly just pointless. I don't know why you need Stalker, especially on a Fire Astromon here, and I don't think he's changed since the first time that we've seen him. I could be wrong, but yeah, I mean, build him up for the Astro Guide, and that's pretty much it, because there's just better Firemon options out there, and especially even though we have other Fire Astromon like Fire Leo, for example, or Fire Wild Thing, unfortunately, mons like Fire Drakka just have eradicated a large portion of the Fire Astromon community, and it's for good reason. Moving on next, though, we do have the water version of Mira, who is a balance type coming in with 24k HP, 2.8k attack, and then 2.8k defense. Once again, HP is a bit of a weird champ because his HP base is lower than the attacker type, though you're balanced. Interesting. But let's take a look at these skills, man. Actually, I need to do it the better way here. So for the 3-star skill, there's a 60% chance to steal the enemy's passive skills for 2 turns. And then for the 5-star skill, 70% chance to reduce the enemy's defense for 2 turns. So basically more so a debuffing mon and not really a damage slash self-sustain mon. Interesting. Still not interesting enough, because Seal does have its uses, but I feel like Seal is just better off as a 5-star skill of hitting everyone. And Defense Down once again has its uses, but considering that you have to capture, you know, literally 16 of these Astromon that are nat 4 legendaries to basically use this Astromon in order to get a cheap Defense Down off, there's obviously better choices. Go ahead and pick up your freaking Water Mona that everyone gets, or that everyone should be getting, especially if you start the game. Get her to Super Evo, congratulations. You have something that's honestly better than that. So, Kit is weak. I hate to break it to you, but no one's surprised with that whatsoever here. But anyway, still does receive a 20% damage boost and goes up to, what was that, 70% for 2 turns. And then Defense Down also receives a 15% damage boost and goes up to 80% for 2 turns, if I'm reading that correctly here. Yeah. So, I mean, there is some PvP merit with that. I don't think I've actually used Seal outside of PvP. And I would argue I haven't really actively used Seal in terms of PvP. maybe in terms of clan versus clan a long time ago, but you know, making sure that the enemy kind of converts over from life status to death status is more important to me than sealing them. So in this, you know, scenario, just not a big fan of sealing a 3-star skill, and the defense down literally brings nothing to the table here because there's other astromon that do the same job and of course do it a lot better. But don't let me stop you from building this astromon. Don't let me stop you from getting the lovely Mira for the Astro Guide, because as you guys can see right here, that's exactly what your boy did. And then moving on here to the next one, we have Wood Mira, who's a tank type, coming in with 36k HP, 2.2k attack, and then 1.8k defense. Tank type, plenty of HP. Things check out here. Defense could be way better, because I believe you guys had left a comment on the Fennec video in regards to Dark Fennec. I want to say specifically of Dark Fennec has like a very decent HP stat, but just because its defense is so dirt nasty low, there's a certain threshold where your defense and HP kind of synergize well together, and when you have a lot of HP but no defense in this scenario, doesn't matter how much HP that you want to stack on this astromon, monsters will just shred through that defense stat, making that HP stat just bloop, just like that, bloop. There's nothing to stop it. There's nothing to slow it down. Defense slows that HP loss down. If you have no defense but all HP, don't be surprised when that HP just disappears. FYI here. But let's take a look at the skills. So for the 3-star skill, 80% chance to cause fatigue for the enemy for 3 turns. This obviously prevents them from getting blue souls, so they can't get their lovely active skill off here. And then for the 5-star skill, there's also thirst, 80% chance to reduce the target skill gauge by 30% for 2 turns. This is exactly like SP Siphon, but obviously it's not instant, if that makes any sense. So you have to not only charge this skill up in order to get to the 5-star skill, but you have to get that off, get that sticking on the enemy, then it takes place after that. So this isn't really a super big move or super useful move in regard to PvP, because the amount of time it takes for it to work. Though I do want to say in the past it has definitely been helpful, and I guess in certain situations this could be helpful as well. But I'm really trying to remember if someone had stated something about fatigue being useful somewhere, but it doesn't really come to memory right now. Maybe it was inside the Tower of Chaos somewhere where someone recommended fatigue, but it could have been for a different element. So if you were that person, or if you know of someone that actually uses fatigue, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I've just never really used it, or never really saw a need to use it. But then again, I'm just your average gamer, so what do I know anyways? But anyways, fatigue does receive a 20% damage boost and goes up to, what was that, 90%? 90% for 3 turns. That lasts quite a while. And Thirst also receives a what is that? Let me do math real quick. 25% damage boost, 2.2k attack stat on a tank. What is 25% damage boost going to do for you? That's what I thought. And then moving on here, we finally have hopefully a little bit of spice here. We do have the light version of Mira, who is also a tank type as well, coming in with 42k HP, 2k attack, and then 2.3k defense. So the defense stat is still a little bit anemic. I was hoping more, towards like a 2.5k defense stat, but we can't have everything in the world. It is also like Astromon, meaning it's easier to build crit rate on this Astromon, but hint hint, 2k attack stat, you're not getting any damage out of this Astromon, no matter how hard you try, so don't try. Or if you want to prove me wrong and upload a video, feel free to do that too, but chances are that orange just isn't worth the squeeze. But let's take a look at the skills here. So for the 3-star skill, it grants a 100% chance to reduce the enemy's resistance for 2 turns. Very useful skill. I use this of course every day, just because resistance down is super helpful, especially in a PvP situation. Can also be very helpful in places like, Golden's B15, when monsters have goo goo gaga freaking resist stats and you can't get your saps to stick because those POSs are resisting everything. So very useful skill. It's also used in the Apophis dungeon as well. So keep that in mind if you're running low on a resistance down mons, because I believe, Dark Serial, Dark Mushi, Light Griffin, but that's on this 5-star skill. There's only a couple of astromon with it on the 3-star skill, which can be super helpful if you're interested in that type of stuff here. And then for the 5-star skill, there's Adrenaline, which attacks restore allies HP in amount equal to 10% of Mira's own max HP. Which, sitting at 42k, isn't anything to scoff at. It's not the highest, but by no means, but it's a pretty decent HP stat in itself here. So the main selling point of this astromon, especially with it being a tank type, is just self-sustain, making sure all of your other units are healed up, and just continuously applying that resistance down. But moving on, resistance down does receive a 25% damage boost, and then the Adrenaline also receives a 25% damage boost, which is just weird. I would actually prefer if that maybe went up to 15% instead. I don't really see why not, because it doesn't matter how much you boost up his attack, especially in terms of damage dealt for these skills. It's pretty much just meaningless. Like, just give me the 15% and let's call it quits here. But I think having another accessible resistance down mod for the Apophis dungeon could be very useful, just because I don't really have that many. I don't even think this account has Dark Mushi. Casualio does, not saying Dark Mushi is hard to get, but I don't know. We'll have to see how things pan out. I do have Dark Serial, but I could require just one more astromon with that resistance down, and I could also knock it out of the Astro Guide. But hey, at least this one's definitely useful. To what degree? That's up to you, but it is useful. And to go ahead and bring things home here, we do have Dark Mira, who is a defender type coming in with 30k HP, 2k attack stat, and 3.3k defense. Why do they love just giving him a 2k attack stat? I feel like his 2k attack stat minus the fire one is like legitimately the same across the board. Now I say across the board, but that's literally just the wood, light, and dark, because I do believe the water one, his attack stat was 2.8k because he was balanced here, but it just seems the same all throughout for whatever reason. Why did they do that? I guess the real question is why not. But let's take a look at the skills here. So for the 3-star skill, we have SP Siphon, which takes away 30% of the enemy's SP. Great crowd control move, which I've stated in pretty much all of my videos involving SP Siphon. And then Seal gets 80% chance to steal the enemy's passive for 2 turns. And this at least is on a 5-star skill. So, I'm trying to be very fair here. This isn't the worst kit in the world, not by any means. There is some usage that you can get out of that 3-star skill. It saves my butt quite a bit of time, especially in regards to PvP. And then with Seal being applied to, that could be useful just depending on whoever that you're fighting, if he's able to get that off. With him being a Dark type 2, you obviously don't have to worry about Dark types nuking him, though they probably will. But, obviously Light Mons will be your biggest threat. But depending on your team composition, that could not be super serious either. So some use to him. However, my biggest complaint with this is just the amount of investment in order to get him to be usable. And then you're facing off against other Nat 4s that have super evolutions. You have Nat 5s that have ultimate evolutions. It's just a bad time. So if you somehow began the game and you can somehow get him to Evo 3 and you want to use him in a PvP situation, go for it. But once you get better astromon in regards to PvP, this one just gets phased out. Useful, but very, very minuscule in terms of use, just because the investment in order to make him useful just isn't worth the squeeze, at least in one man's opinion here. In regards to the skill books here, SP Siphon does receive a 25% damage boost. Seal also receives a 20% damage boost and goes up to 90% for 2 turns. Decent with the books. But once again, the investment to me is kind of steep for something that's very situational, where in my opinion, at least the light version of Mira, if you do the Apophis dungeon of course, I would be guaranteed to use that astromon every single week. Even if it's only once a week, it is still being used every week. But at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. Get this astromon, use him for the fusion if you need to. If you like him, keep him. It's just honestly his whole integration into the game just makes things to be desired here. But that's pretty much all that I have here today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out.